fashioned by partisan actors, but is instead done to reflect the actual political leanings of the state and to provide a fair distribution of seats. Maybe we could eventually get to that in no small part because of this, but we will have to see. I imagine though that if you go to Truth Social, Donald Trump is probably blowing up over this right now. So if you want a little bit more schadenfreude, feel free to go to Truth Social. Anyway, with that said, that's all the time we have for the show. Trey, as always, it is a pleasure to have you here. Where can people catch you next?
Yeah, thanks for having me back. Always fun. Just TreyCrowder.com, TRAE Crowder.com has all my tour dates and ticket links, but also whatever your preferred social media platform is. If you just search for Trey Crowder on there, then you'll find me. Yeah, nice. Pretty simple.
And everyone, definitely go check out his YouTube channel. I was telling Trey before the show that I know you've been doing it for a while, but the algorithm finally started throwing them my way. Your videos that you do, topical videos, very in-depth topical videos, very casually in your car. I really enjoy it. It fits the same genre of, a few months ago, I started watching, is it Josh Johnson? I think. Yeah, it's like, and both you guys, it amazes me that you can do as much every week. Like I don't get, like it would take me months to put together one of those, and you guys just keep hitting this awesome topical stuff. So everybody go check out Trey on YouTube.
Well, you're too sweet. You're selling yourself short too, by the way. You kind of do it literally every day. You're just acting like you don't. But yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah.
Well, thank you. Everybody out there, remember, what day is it? Tuesday. Thursday is going to be our members hangout. So if you're a tier 3 member on YouTube, definitely come hang out with us. Tomorrow's Big News Wednesday, so come hang out with me and with Sharon. For now though, stay safe out there, stay sane out there. We'll see you soon.
welcome. It's indisputable. I'm your host, Rashad Ritchie. Good to be with you. We have a lot on the agenda today. Breaking down news of the day, none other than the incomparable Sharon Reed. Always fascinating to have her analysis. First story of the day. Well, here we go. A man has a meltdown at a local Kroger, gets into a black woman's face. It has now gone viral. Here it is.
I didn't threaten to hit her.
You got all in a personal.
F you.
That's all you.
You bitch.
God bless you, sir. God bless you.
Yes, God bless you, sir. Put it up. Full mass. We have some background on this individual or on the situation. Man has a meltdown at a Kroger, gets into a black woman's face. A viral video posted over the weekend shows a white male going insane over a supermarket slight in a Houston area Kroger. Shauna Hackney was wrapping up her weekly grocery run and approached a self-checkout kiosk a second too soon. No one could have imagined the obscenity-laced berating she got from the customer ahead of her when she placed her items down before he had finished bagging. At the beginning of the video, the man in the Houston Astros cap can be seen arguing with a concerned clerk, claiming he didn't threaten physical violence against Hackney. But in her November 15th IG post, she alleged he tried to hit her no less than 3 times, attempted assault. I went in for my weekly meal prep and a few essentials. When I got to the checkout lines, they were full except one. The gentleman in the video was finished and bagging his stuff up at the end. I started checking out my items and they sat on the belt while he was still bagging his stuff. Remind you, my stuff was nowhere near his. Out of nowhere, he started cursing, yelling, and even throwing my stuff. Then he got in my face, pointing, shouting, and attempting to hit me 3 times at very close range before security stepped in. We are still looking for more details about this story. Obviously, it seems that what he did should be enough for a criminal charge, and it should. Threatening physical violence, engaged in combative behavior, disorderly conduct. Was he trespassed from the premises, or is he allowed to come back? Did he get an official notice to never come to a Kroger again because of how he decided to treat a customer? And let's be very clear about the slight. He was finished. His purchase was done. She decided to start placing her items down, but he didn't like it. There's no actual issue. He didn't like it. And so he decided to respond in this manner. All right, well, sir, you are now on full blast. Hopefully somebody in your family loves you enough to have an intervention. All right, Sharon, thoughts here.
Probably needs to be hospitalized. And I'm being kind, believing that, as you said, he went insane. He must have some diagnosable illness that's got to be corrected. I thought about a couple of things here, perhaps 3 of them. Number one, I thought about you as you were going through the story and thinking, oh my goodness, had Doc been in that Kroger when this black woman was being disrespected, he would have dealt with this man. And I say, oh my goodness, you're perfectly measured and controlled. But anytime a black man has to come to the defense of a woman in this regard, it puts him in jeopardy. The other thing I thought about was when she said, God bless you, she meant it.
Yeah.
I believe she actually meant it. This is a good person who meant no harm and is wishing the best for this enigma, this disgusting guy. And the final thing I thought about as I was eating my chicken parm from a place that I believe you and I have even gone to over the years. It's a wonderful place in town. Yep. No free commercials. I won't name it. I almost threw up. Had I not been a big back, I would have thrown up, Doc. This is reprehensible.
Yeah.
And I pray that Kroger is going to do the right thing here. Because now it's their turn. You're up.
Right. That's right. Well said. All right, we'll bring you updates if there is an update to bring. We do have a major update. Remember the story we brought you about the housekeeper who was fatally shot. There's an arrest that has been made. Put up the picture full mass. This is a very sad story. So a man fatally shot a housekeeper, has been arrested and charged. In Indiana, if you recall, Maria Florinda Rios Perez de Velasquez, a woman working as a house cleaner, attempted to provide a service to the wrong home. She was simply knocking on the wrong door. She was shot and killed by the homeowner because of that. She was only 32 years of age. She was a mother of 4. At the house, as you can see, the bullet hole is still visible through the door. This is a big part of the story. I highlighted this in the first presentation. Velasquez was heading to a private residence alongside her husband to clean a home in Whitestown, Indiana. On the morning of Wednesday, November 5th, she tried to open the door using a key and was promptly shot in the head. Her brother, Rudy, told NBC News. Velasquez then, quote, fell into the arms of her husband. She was 32 and an immigrant from Guatemala. Quote, it's so unjust. She was only trying to bring home the daily bread to support her family. She accidentally went to the wrong house, but he should not, have taken her life. He definitely didn't have to do that. I'll put him up. His name is Kurt Anderson. Kurt has been charged with voluntary manslaughter for fatally shooting Velasquez. Prosecutors announced this yesterday, 2 weeks after the shooting. The suspect has been booked into the Boone County Jail on a no bond hold, will appear in court at some point this week. Prosecutors said, the Boone County prosecutor, Kent Eastwood, said the decision to file the charge follows a, quote, comprehensive examination in which his office determined Anderson's actions did not fall under the legal protections provided by the Indiana Stand Your Ground law. Now, when I first brought you this story, I highlighted the fact that entry obviously was not made. Because if entry to the premises was made, you don't have a bullet hole through the door. And if entry to the premises, if the individual is inside of your home, your stand your ground statutory dynamic in that state is damn near absolute when the person is inside of your house. The de-escalation requirement goes out the door. Now, quote, it is our contention, according to the prosecutors, that the person did not have a reasonable belief that that type of force was necessary, given all the facts that he had at the time. Eastwood said this during the briefing on Monday. Officers responded to a 911 call reporting a possible home invasion shortly before 7 a.m., found the woman dead on the front porch of the residence with a gunshot wound. The gun had been fired from inside by a resident of the home, police said. A responding police officer saw a bullet hole in the front door of the residence, according to the probable cause affidavit. So police later determined the woman was part of a cleaning crew that had mistakenly arrived at the wrong home, and that, quote, the facts gathered do not support that a home invasion occurred. Eastwood said his office started a review of the case on November 10th, following a, quote, thorough and professional police investigation, which included taped witness statements and crime scene diagrams. The prosecutor said he has received words of support from people who said they were praying for him, quote, because we know you have a difficult decision to make. He says, honestly, it wasn't. It wasn't. He said, I hate to sound cavalier about this, but it wasn't a hard decision, end quote. Hats off to the prosecutor because the law is clear. No entry was made. There is no actual threat. Shooting someone through your door and putting a bullet in their head for being at the wrong house cannot become precedent in the United States of America. So while he may have a difficult job ahead of him due to the politics of it all, his decision, his moral, ethical, and legal judgment is clear. Put him up. You have 4 children without a mother. You have a husband without a wife. Her husband, who cleaned houses with her, who also witnessed her death, told NBC News, quote, "It's not easy. Now, if you want to send prayers to someone, send them to him. Send them to the children." That is who it will not be easy for. It's not easy at the moment of seeing my wife in my arms, he says, already lifeless, covered in blood. I felt like they tore everything from me. WRTV reports that out of the 4 children, the youngest is 11 months. Anderson, the homeowner, told police that he woke up due to a, quote, commotion at his front door that sounded like someone was trying to get inside, according to the affidavit. He said he saw 2 people at the front of the door and thought they were breaking into his home. So he went to retrieve his gun, according to the affidavit. The victim's husband told police he never heard anyone speak inside the home, just the one shot. And he did not use any force to try to enter the residence or bang on the door, according to the affidavit. When Anderson was informed, the person shot was, in fact, a cleaning woman with her husband who had mistakenly gone to the wrong address. He, quote, became upset and immediately put his head down on the table, according to the affidavit. There's something in the law that eliminates your mens rea requirement, meaning your intent to form a criminal intent before doing the action, because your action is so grossly negligent that your gross negligence is worthy enough to qualify that crime as a crime. And that's basically what this law of manslaughter, or this charge of manslaughter, deals with. It would have been difficult to prove a murder charge, regardless of the degree for that state, because you would have to prove criminal intent to murder. So I do believe the prosecutor got it right. Okay. All right. Sharon, thoughts here.
Well, thank goodness we're not going the Zimmerman route here.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank goodness we're not going to play in our faces and pretend that it's okay to gun down someone with Skittles and a Snapple. Here's the thing. I applaud the prosecutor for following the law and for stating things plainly. They were praying for you, prosecutor, because Black and white Americans know the fix is in. That's why they were praying for you. I have nothing but sadness and love for this incredible family that came here for the American dream and was shown the horror of American violence. I don't know what to believe when it comes to this homeowner, but you laid out the law, Doc. But I will say this. I feel shame that we live in a country where there's such a thirst for snuffing out a life. You had time to go get your weapon, but not time armed with a weapon. You were presumably safe behind the door, but you didn't have time to scream out, "Hey, who's there? Hey, what's going on? I have a gun." Let's just shoot him in the head. Shame. You'd rather snuff out a human being and take away a mother and a wife. America, you better look at your life.
Yeah, that part. We'll bring you updates as they come. Okay. What if I told you a woman was recording the police and then the police, well, they threatened to arrest her for recording the police? Here we are.
I'm just trying to calm my mother down. That's all I'm trying to do.
Well, back up and do it.
I'm far back from you, sir. What is 25 feet to you?
25 feet.
What is 25 feet?
Back up and I'll let you know.
You gotta be rude
Like
to
that,
my
how you
daughter.
doing?
If she only
I'm just trying to calm her
Take her
down.
over there. Take her over
You
there.
have nothing to do with this, or you'll be detained too.
Well, I'm just trying to figure out what's going on.
Go. She's being detained. She's arrested. She has a warrant. Go.
What about her car?
She's getting towed. She has no insurance. Would you like to be detained?
Well, I was just asking questions.
Okay,
here.
and
There's no
I'm
need-
telling you, you don't have no problem being here. Then go. Her car is being towed. It has no insurance. She's being arrested for a warrant. Thank you. Have a nice day.
She had no reason to come here.
Goodbye.
And what's your, excuse me, and one more question. So how long would it take for her to get booked?
That's when she gets to the jail, you can call the jail and find out the information from there.
And she know I have a lot of medical problems.
She does. She does have a lot of medical problems.
She's also causing more problems by acting the way she's
That's
acting.
not, can I speak to you, ma'am?
No, you can leave.
You know, it really doesn't make sense when officers go out of their way to make your life more difficult and then to make their jobs more difficult. Okay, there's an arrest being effected. The person is up in age. It is alleged she has medical issues. And there's someone recording, which is completely within the context of law. The person that you are arresting, these are what's called automatic bondable offenses, meaning she likely doesn't have to see a judge to be bonded out. She can be bonded out in hours. Instead of giving the other person, if that be a daughter or a bystander, a good Samaritan, or even someone who's friends with the accused, instead of just giving them the proper information, saying, listen, we're going to take them downtown. They're going to be fingerprinted. And then in about 2 hours, they will be able to be bonded out. Now, these charges require this amount for bonds. That's easy. That's simple. Everybody's at ease with that. It happens to be the truth. Nobody's being arrested for murder where a superior court judge is going to have to provide some type of context for flight, risk of coming back to court, etc. So this is simple. Put it at full mass. Louisiana cop, St. Bernard, they're now facing backlash after threatening a Black woman asking questions during her mother's arrest. Video of the incident was taken by the woman's daughter. Her name is Linnell. Linnell, as she tried to advocate for her mother's behalf, on her mother's behalf, says this happened during a mental crisis. The woman was being detained over an alleged traffic violation. Once again, automatic bond. According to Mick Elvin, this is the daughter, who goes by Muppy Brown on social media, her mother suffers from several health conditions, including diabetes, chronic pain, and anxiety attacks. On that April afternoon, sheriff's deputies happened to spot her mother on her way to a fast food restaurant and ran her name, which alerted them to an outstanding traffic ticket, according to the TikTok video. Quote, I was simply trying to calm her down and reassure her that everything would be okay. Unfortunately, the arresting officer was extremely rude and aggressive. I truly believe the situation could have been handled differently, she wrote in the video's caption. That is correct. It could have been handled differently. Officers in the St. Bernard district need better training in handling situations like this. When you don't take someone's medical history into account, that's how accidents happen. That's correct. And by the way, that's not an accident at that point. That is willful neglect if they don't take the medical information they have been given into account. She also stated in the follow-up post that she is responsible for managing her mother's medical conditions. In the video, which has been making the rounds on social media, the female deputy sarcastically told her, "Have a nice day," mere seconds after ordering her to leave. This is the issue. This is a simple situation. Okay, she has a warrant out for a ticket. Does that make her a bad person? Are we moralizing against a human being who has a warrant out for a ticket? I've had warrants out for tickets before. The city or the county, they let you pay $100 extra. You get to reset the court date. If they catch you before you do that, you take that ride. So let's understand this is not a moral dilemma. The mother has medical issues according to the daughter. The officers could have easily acted as if they were first responders. Because remember, these are the same individuals that have to respond to you if you're having a heart attack, if you're having a stroke, if you're having an anxiety attack, if you have been injured. These are the same individuals who respond to those calls. You mean to tell me you all don't have enough heart in you to willingly listen to a daughter tell you about the medical condition of her mother? You all don't have enough heart in you to allow that daughter to record legally or to calm down her mother? What's the issue? All right. Doesn't give a good name for the local police department or police officers nationwide. Sharing thoughts here.
As you were chronicling the events and showing us this nasty display of policing, I was going back and forth in my head because, on this show, Doc, I a lot of times like to say I'd fire him on the spot. And then I was thinking, well, I'd suspend her. I decided at the end I'd fire her because you mentioned heart lacking, common sense, putting others at risk, including the perp, but also a partner. You're just not fit to be in this position of community trust. I would fire her to let everybody else on my force know we're not going to do this nonsense anymore. This is so easy, and you made it so difficult.
Yeah, they sure did. And once again, it only makes the cops' jobs more difficult in the long run.
That part.
All right, we got more on the other side. Indisputable. Stick and stay.
Damn it, they failed us. And if you're not angry about that, Michael, and any of you out there, then you're damn wrong. Because you should be angry. Young Turks.
It was genuine. He was mad.
Cenk Uygur, known online as one of the Young Turks, isn't afraid to throw some punches.
3, 2, 1, fade up.
Cenk the Turk Uygur.
What kind of TV station is this? The whole point is for me to yell and scream and tell you what I think.
It was right out of like Wayne's World.
This guy on this little rinky-dink website is speaking truth to power.
We've been averaging 600,000 views a day, beating most of the cable shows in America.
We're the largest online news show in the world.
We're celebrating our 1 billionth view.
Television, we're coming.
More politics ahead with Cenk Uygur.
He knew that the MSNBC opportunity was an experiment.
If Bill and host beat CNN and headline news combined, at some point, they want to give me a show.
Every single year, that comes out of our paycheck. We put it in, and you're saying we were suckers.
When you, as a host, tells someone you're interviewing to shut up, that's going to raise a red flag.
That guy needed a tall glass of shut up juice.
If President Obama's doing the wrong thing, I'm not going to tell you that he's doing the right thing so I can, quote, support him.
He says to me, "You won't believe the meeting that I just had."
The head of MSNBC talked to me.
And they want him off the air.
Cenk took an incredible risk.
We're supposed to challenge the government. That's the role of the media. The Democrats and the Republicans are here to screw you. And who on the air is saying it?
I wouldn't have done what he did.
That if I'm going to be a talk show host, I should be the biggest talk show host in the country. I don't think anyone else does it better. I don't think anyone's even close.
Before you know it, I'll be back on your TV doing a national show. I guarantee it.
Magic. It's showtime. And say 45 minutes. I'm hosting today. Now, I know what you're thinking. Jerry, your face is already perfect, but you know what? I still need to apply some makeup. I went through this process, right? A few years ago. when I realized that I was gonna have to wear makeup on the show, I had to go through like finding out what my undertones were. You guys know what those are? I got my MAC Cosmetics. It says SPF 15 foundation, broad spectrum. But apparently what I have is red undertones, and I think pores are not supposed to be seen. I need all these things to be confirmed for me. These sponge things don't work for me. You gotta use your hands. At least I do. That's how the magic really happens. So we're gonna go through a tutorial how to make the magic happen from beautiful to beautifuler. Let's go. I've already been moisturized. That's the first thing. But moisturization already happened. We go raw. All hands. Pick up a couple streaks. This is the guy we're putting on makeup. We got dots. There's some shiny points that generally happen. First of all, here we go. You dust here. I'm putting way too much, but you dust. Oh, get the excess off. You don't want chunky powder. There's like a T-zone, I think, right? Mine is a double T-zone. Because I went middle and another cross. Make sure your nose isn't all shiny. People get on you for it. They'll say, that's not a good point you made on there, JR. Your nose is shiny. You guys are picky like that sometimes. I think that's about it, fellas and ladies. See you guys next time. Bitsies.
All right. Welcome back. Always good to be with you. Let me read some of these beautiful comments. Kroger Shopper. So Dex says, dude, give your little grandson his shirt back. It was extra snug. Yes. I agree. I saw that as well. Neon Death 07. Oh no, not the chicken parm. All right. So micrograms, people that shoot through their door like this must have always wanted to shoot someone. It seems like it, right? And Donald James X, that Karen Kopp knew she was over the line and maybe feels shame for arresting a helpless elderly woman. And Craig Christopher says, breaking the House voted to release the files after a bipartisan group forced the vote. Somebody gonna be mad. Well, according to Trump, he just said we just can't talk about it too much. You know, because it's Democrat hoax. I think we got one more I can read. I agree. Tone Loke 3000. Turning a mistake into a murder is absolutely no excuse. That's right. That's right. Got to value life more than that. Okay. Got something for you, ladies and gentlemen. I wish a Karen would.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday.
I feel great! Back off!
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
That was bleach on food. Put it up. I actually have more video, but Karen pours bleach on a street vendor's food. According to 9 News Denver, they were employees of the Denver Department of Public Health. A reporter from 9 News Denver was able to obtain a statement from that health department. Here we go.
I heard from a spokesperson from the Denver Department of Public Health and Environment. This is the agency that has inspectors that go out and they make sure that when vendors are selling food, the food is at a right temperature. That way it's not spoiled or has the potential to spoil. And there's rules about this. According to the city, when these inspectors have been going out to check food, not only are they finding that some of the vendors are operating without the proper licenses or permits to sell food in Denver, but they're not storing the food at the right temperature. And so when inspectors see this on the roadside, they cannot immediately seize that food. So they take a bottle of Clorox and they destroy it, because I've been told by this spokesperson that when these vendors get busted in the city of Denver, they try to take that food and then resell it in a different part of the metro area, in a different part of the city. And the city of Denver doesn't want that because it's a potential health hazard. So that's why you see this woman destroying the food with Clorox.
You know what else is a potential health hazard? Eating food with Clorox. If you think they're that just malicious, as you have laid out, if the inspectors of the city believe these food vendors are just that malicious, what would stop them from selling the food with Clorox then? Or trying to touch it up or remix it? This is an insane solution to a simple issue. Put this up again full mass. Hey, you know what the simple solution is? Well, I don't know. You can probably follow other cities. They issue fines. They require court appearance. It's called a summons for habitual violators. And then typically the vendor will say, you know what? All of these fines and these court appearances, if I just pay for the license, that's actually cheaper. That's the way the racket is ran in other cities, by the way. Okay. All right. Sharon, they go around with bleach, a poison, and they decide to poison the food. That does not destroy the food. It simply poisons the food. And that is their solution.
Yeah, this is not policy. This is what Karen decided to do, and male Karens and colleagues decided to do, perhaps. And I'm going to tell you what it even sounds just as ignorant. The goofball reporter's response, without saying, what on earth is going on here? Can you believe this? Let me tell you what's going on. Look, either do your job. You can seize the food, I guess, if that's, within your right as law enforcement or code enforcement, or you can not. But if they choose to go break the law and serve food that's not the right temperature and perhaps hurt someone in another community, that's on that community to police. Okay, Karen?
Yeah.
Ridiculous. And I'd sit the reporter down too.
Yeah.
Sorry, but that was just craziness. Just stop it. You're a reporter. Report. Not everything they tell you.
That's right. He basically reported a press release from the inspector's office. And here's the thing: do comparative reporting. Like, what's the comparison to other cities? How many individuals actually do this? All right, we'll bring you updates if there's an update to bring. Okay. Well, we've talked about how some in the medical profession ignore Black women in particular, and it leads to medical complications and even death. There's a viral video that shows a nurse ignoring a Black woman in active labor. Here it is.
When's your due date?
Right now.
Is your due date 11?
What?
How many times have you been pregnant?
3.
This is your 3rd pregnancy?
Yes.
You have 2 babies
It's
at
in
home?
my ass.
You have 2 babies at home? Who's your doctor?
Lang is her doctor.
Y'all treat all your patients like this or just the black ones? Her due date is the 10th.
It was the 10th. Her due date is the 10th.
She had 3 pregnancies, 2 babies at home. I bet y'all listen next time. When you found out you was delivering at this hospital, your ass should have changed doctors.
There's a lot to this story. Put it up full mass. A TikTok video showing a Dallas woman in active labor being kept in a hospital waiting room. You're looking at a waiting room. This has garnered more than 36 million views, sparking out allegations of discrimination at Dallas Regional Medical Center in Texas. Cash Jones posted the video to TikTok Friday showing her daughter, Carrie Jones, doubled over in pain in a wheelchair while a nurse conducted an admissions interview. According to Cash, staff kept her daughter in the waiting room for more than 30 minutes before moving her to a delivery room where she gave birth 12 minutes later. In the viral footage, Cash asked the nurse, quote, "Y'all treat all your patients like this or just the black ones?" End quote. Carrie said in a subsequent post that she called the hospital before arriving to inform them that she was in labor. She alleged that staff dismissed them and insisted on completing paperwork before taking her into the delivery room, despite her visible pain. Quote, "We push her into the door. I say, can we get her into labor and delivery?" Cash said in a video. The nurse said, "No. We have to fill out all this paperwork. I do have to do this paperwork and get her a band before we can see her upstairs." End quote. Cash says staff only showed an ounce of care or sympathy once they reached the labor and delivery department. Quote, "Before then, they could care less. The nurses did not care if she gave birth in that wheelchair," she added. Put it up. In a separate video, Cash Jones said her daughter and the newborn were undergoing medical tests. All right, there they go right there. Baby comes out. She has a delivery 12 minutes after getting into the standard room for delivery. And they said they got ongoing medical tests claiming the baby was born with his eyes open due to the stress and trauma that occurred in the triage area. So Dallas Regional Medical Center has issued a statement, according to the Houston Chronicle, saying it could not provide specifics due to patient privacy laws, but is, quote, "reviewing the situation to understand what occurred." Quote, "At Dallas Regional Medical Center, the safety, dignity, and well-being of our patients are always our highest priorities." End quote, the statement read. Quote, "We are committed to providing compassionate, high-quality care to every person who comes through our doors." The incident highlights the ongoing trend in maternal health disparities and racial biases in healthcare. A 2023 report from the Policy Center for Maternal Health found that Black women experienced 50 deaths for every 100,000 live births, an increase from the previous year. It gets worse and worse. By comparison, military rates for white, Hispanic, and Asian women were below 20 per 100,000 births. And it doesn't just stop there. That's just one of the massive inequities we have in our healthcare system as it relates to the treatment of Black women. Put up that family again. When there's a pregnant woman please understand that she is engaged in the most important thing for bringing new life into the world. That is that prenatal care. What does that entail? Well, nutrition, emotional stability, no stress. You try to make things easier. Why would a hospital, of all places, provide that level of stress and bureaucracy to a human being right before giving birth to a fragile life? Why? All right. Sharon, I would like you to opine. Obviously, you are a mother. I know this had to strike you in a particular and specific way, and I would like you to give us your insight.
I noticed this viral video and I deliberately didn't click on it because I knew exactly what it would do in triggering me, Doc.
Yeah.
The reason that they did not do what was human here, and I don't want to hear about overcrowding or wait times, that's not, stop it, what we're talking about here. And they didn't check for a heartbeat, and blood pressure could be dropping, umbilical cord could be wrapped around the neck, and she delivers 12 minutes later. It's because Kens have infiltrated the medical field too, like cockroaches. This was disgusting to watch, and there is no earthly excuse. And would it surprise you that I'm in the firing mood today that continues because whoever put out that BS note about how we care and blah, 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 both teams played hard, should go too. Clearly you don't. The first words in that statement should have been, we are horrified by what we have seen here. We are working on figuring out exactly what went down here and why. And we will have a full community report so you don't lose faith in us any more than you already have. Sicko behavior. That is the only reason, Doc, I'm almost done, why Black babies are dying because of that. Not because of my makeup, not because of my wound, but because of the Karen who was doing the intake right there. Sicko behavior.
Yeah, and you are correct. The disparities, the inequities, they are there not because of the patient, but because of patient care. And we see that in almost every study that comes from surveys that monitor this kind of stuff. And I serve on the board of directors for a hospital here in Atlanta. And I would be livid if someone who worked for that hospital would have ever treated another human being in that manner, regardless of race. All right, we'll bring you updates as they come. Okay, we got more on the other side. It's indisputable. Stick and stay. Indisputable is still the fastest growing news show in America compared to CNN, Fox News, and 30 other networks. We tell the truth on Indisputable because the truth is indisputable. We go places that other news media outlets refuse to go. When there were human rights abuses happening at the Victorville prison, guards and members of the community contacted us.
You, through your investigative reporting, unearthed very troubling allegations about specific forms of abuse and discrimination in the federal prison system.
It really doesn't take much to be a trusted voice. All it takes is to be fearless, report on matters, be an advocate. I called it the Bullpen intentionally because it's a place of preparation. We present individuals who may have an opposing view, so we debate. Sometimes we interview individuals because their stories deserve to be heard. A survivor of significant police misconduct and his attorney. We covered this story earlier and to remind you of the horror of one man being shot at damn near 100 times by the police. We take time on this show to showcase the temper tantrums of Karens in the wild. We do this not because we want to see people's emotional outbursts in public, but because these incidents are emblematic of a bigger societal issue taking place across the nation, and it has to be checked. My friend, my big homie, attorney at law, Benjamin Crump.
I just want to thank you, man. Educated, articulate brothers like yourself speak truth to power. It makes a great difference in changing the landscape in America. So
listen, no matter what you do, don't allow the politics of ideology to evaporate the soul that still exists inside of you. They don't stop, I don't stop. Racism won't stop, I won't stop. Systemic bias won't stop, I won't stop. People still need health care, so I won't stop. People still need criminal justice systems reform, so I won't stop. You won't stop either.
I'm wearing one of our pieces of merchandise. So the funny thing about the Dragon Squad, and that's what our viewers call themselves. That's the name of the group, but every individual chooses their own name. You might have Cincinnati Dragon. You might have Harry Potter Dragon. We have a Grandma Sunshine Dragon is one of those that I remember. These are people that like to have an element of themselves, their lives, what's significant to them reflected as a part of the community. But the concept of the Dragon Squad is just something I threw away as a joke. I was mocking the Proud Boys, these like right-wing groups that come up with a name for themselves that they think is cool, but it's actually really lame. And I thought, off the top of my head, I can come up with something that's still kind of lame, but much cooler. And so I threw out Dragon Squad and I just moved on with my life. But everybody liked it, and so they kept it going, and so we've embraced it. And I think again, this was during the period of the pandemic. I think it was sort of nice to have a renewed sense of community, a feeling that you're a part of something when everything seems so chaotic. And as a result of that, we've got independent artists online streaming, making beautiful digital art of dragons. We've got, we've released a number of pieces of merchandise that people love sending us photos of them. And then, by the way, for me personally, people send me, like you can probably see in the background, like a knitted dragon someone sent me. There's a dragon book they sent me, dragon board games they send me. People have done like custom ironworks, making dragon bottle openers. Like the fans are super invested in diamond art and things like that. And so it's great that they send this stuff. Sometime we're gonna have to set up a wall of all of it. But yeah, it's definitely brought the community a lot closer together. The fact that we were no longer in this big studio, I felt a lot more personally attached to people. It felt very immediate. And I know that I personally needed the connection.
All right. Welcome back. Good to be with you. We have a lot of comments and also a reminder of our brand sponsor and partner, Noble Mobile. Let's put it up. The only wireless plan that gives you money to use your phone less. Noble Mobile, I'm not crazy about the name as I have shared before, but I am crazy about the plan. $50 a month, unlimited data. And if you don't use your phone that much, you get cash back. Nobody does this. Not Noble Mobile bucks, but you get real money back to spend the way you choose to spend it. And that money goes to you rather than to stakeholders. I think it's a remarkable idea. They have something called the No Bull plan. You get unlimited data, $50 a month. You can check it out, tyt.com/switch, tyt.com/switch, or you can go to that QR code, check it out after the show. All right? Okay. Let's read some of these comments. Grateful for everyone. Snack Panther says, normally don't Karens ruin food by adding raisins. That's one evil Karen. That was good. Okay. Thomas of Thomas, how does poisoning food improve public health? Yeah, it doesn't. That's right. That's correct. And Lovebug41, that was uncalled for. She must be charged for all that food. That's right. Even if you are, let's say, operating outside of the boundaries of their rule, food temperature, etc., usually destroying it or poisoning it isn't something you have the right to do as an inspector's office. So they could be penalized via lawsuit. Devil Bear Hocturian, thank you for that, by the way. It's time to revoke those two entitled Food Public Health Department members' license, be arrested and jailed. It is insane and the same solution. And Mayor Death 07, it doesn't sound like policy at all. If it is, let me get a hold of Mayor Mike Johnston. There you go. Donald James X talking about the woman who's pregnant. WTF, it's an emergency. She's about to give birth. That's right. And Dex says, I hope Kerry Jones calls my cousin Benny Crump. That hospital will be putting all of her children through college. And we got time for, let's do two more. Bernie the Kiwi Dragon member for 41 months. Thank you for that. This is unacceptable. Can someone tend to the woman in labor while another person tries to take the information from the other woman accompanying her? That is correct. That is usually how the policy works. Either A, they provide, the patient will provide a phone number for someone they can call and get pertinent information, or the person with them will provide that information since they are there. And the Midwest Dragon, thank you for that. I'm going to say this once again, and the professional way. To do this is to file all of that stuff after she gave birth. I swear, a bunch of robots. All right. Okay, here we go. So we have an update. Family of a man found dead at ICE jail. They are suspecting foul play. Here it is.
Here's more proof that WS in this organization is literally unaliving people of color, including, yes, people that look like me. Because do you remember when a man of Chinese descent was found hanging in a detention center because he allegedly self-ejected 32-year-old Gi Chaofeng? Well, Chaofeng's family have filed a lawsuit against immigration because they had originally put in a request with immigration for some documents. Because, they're just trying to find out what happened to Chaofeng via the Freedom of Information Act back in September 9th. And they were legally supposed to respond by October 14th. But they didn't, so they filed a lawsuit. And even though back in August, Pennsylvania State Police originally stated that it was a self-ejection and they found a handwritten note and claimed that there was no foul play involved, according to the complaint filed on Thursday, Chaofeng was allegedly found hanging with his hands and legs tied behind his back. I'm sorry, how the not foul play? And apparently Chaofeng was only in isolation because nobody on the staff not only spoke Chinese, but not even attempted to try to get a translator.
Put a full mask. I told you all the first time I reported this story, it did not sound right. The lack of motive, the lack of oversight, and basically the family saying this does not sound like him. We have an update. The family of the man found dead at an ICE detention center, they are now suspecting foul play. When U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement first reported that the Chinese immigrant, Chaofeng, that his death in custody in Western Pennsylvania on August 6th, they said he was found dead the day before, hanging in the shower. It was because he unalived himself. That's what they told us. It was a cloth tied around his neck. It made no mention of additional bindings that were on his hands and on his feet. But on Wednesday, Chaofeng's family in Queens filed a lawsuit in Manhattan federal court to obtain records that may explain why he was found with his hands and his feet bound. David Rankin, an attorney representing the family, the older brother, said the additional details came from an autopsy that the Clearfield County, Pennsylvania coroner conducted. Chaofeng's death certificate lists that he unalived himself by hanging as the cause of death. But the autopsy report that, if nothing else, gives you the cause of death, either by way of homicide, meaning another person did it, or the individual engaged in a self-termination. The autopsy gave no clear explanation of how this was possible, he said. Chaofeng, 32 years of age, had been in Moshannon Valley Processing Center for 4 days. In a processing center for 4 days. ICE was holding him following his completion of a 6 to 12 month sentence on credit card fraud. So you're dealing with months, okay? 6 to 12 month sentence. He was one of many New Yorkers to end up in the Phillipsburg, Pennsylvania lockup that the GEO Group runs. He is also one of 15 immigrants to have died while in ICE custody during the second Trump administration. So data from the Executive Office for Immigration Review, the Justice Department unit that runs the immigration courts, shows that ICE has been transferring greater numbers of detainees from New York to Moshannon. The number of these detainees transferred increased from 22 to 225 between 2022 to 2025. Advocacy groups have campaigned to shut down the facility, a former federal prison that is now the largest immigration jail in the Northeast. A 2024 report from Temple University concluded that the detainees there who reported being physically abused and emotionally isolated also cited, quote, physical and psychological abuse by staff, ethnic, racial, and religious discrimination, medical negligence in the facility, while facing barriers to justice itself. Before I continue, I want to remind everyone of the work that Senator John Ossoff out of Georgia is doing around this very same issue. He started this work prior to ICE being what they have now become, and these detention centers being a hub of civil rights and human rights violations. He is continuing that effort. I encourage you to go to his website and check out his work. We will invite him on the show to provide an update. But what's documented in media is even more horrendous when you look at Senator Ossoff's investigation. At a news conference in Foley Square, Yang Feng and his attorney said Chow Feng's isolation was heightened by the Moshannon facility or facility's lack of a Mandarin translator. This doesn't make any sense, does it? You work for immigration, custom enforcement. You have no translator. You're in the business of international ordeals. You have no translator. The GEO Group did not respond to documented email seeking comment. ICE did not address the family's allegation, but responded in a statement that, quote, all in custody deaths are tragic, taken seriously and are thoroughly investigated by law enforcement, end quote. When ICE disclosed the death, as required by law, by the way, its release stated that a licensed practical nurse had taken Chow Feng's medical history with the aid of a Mandarin interpreter during his intake assessment. The agency said it had, quote, documented his denial of any past medical or mental health condition, denial of medication usage, and released him into general population. That's according to the lawsuit. ICE failed to respond to a September 9th Freedom of Information Act, a FOIA request filed on behalf of Yang Feng, Chow Feng's only other relative in the U.S., according to the attorney. The attorney said he has said nothing to the family. ICE said it had arrested Chow Feng in July, on July 31st, based on a detainer filed with the Dauphin County Prison in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. He was being released from his sentence related to credit card fraud. So you have an individual, he's on the way out, not on the way in. He's having to deal with ICE because that's standard protocol now. And somehow he's found unalive. And the claim is, well, he did this to himself, even though he was bound in multiple places where that would seem quite impossible. The coroner report refuses to give a cause of death. They probably scared too of what ICE would do to them. And now you have a family seeking justice, just information as to what happened. I guarantee you this. While we may know of this incident, there are incidents that we don't. And that's why it's important to speak up when they're knocking at your neighbor's door, because you won't have neighbors to speak up when they're knocking at yours. All right, Sharon, thoughts here.
So this reminds me that no one in the government, no officials faced any kind of criminal charges for Japanese internment camps. Guantanamo Bay, maybe you tell me, Doc, but I don't recall the state-sanctioned atrocities. We're talking about potential murder and not following the law in reporting deadlines, right? As you mentioned, sometimes we're not hearing about things, sometimes we're hearing about things late, and then some floozy and lip gloss, sends out a statement that says all deaths are tragic. No, this is particularly tragic because it didn't need to be. We have swept up entire great percentages of populations, and it's sicko behavior. Because now we have a country who is dictating to others, although they did have the crown prince of Saudi Arabia in the Oval Office today, or at least inside the people's house. I'll say that. So that speaks volumes about our commitment to human rights. When are we going to wake up? And I'm not suggesting, Doc, I'm almost done, that people aren't cognizant of this and they're not taking to the streets and no King's rallies and such that are millions of people, good people. But this is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs at this time. We've got to get back to some semblance of normal problematic America. And this ain't it, bruh. This just ain't it.
Well said. All right. Sharon, always good to have you on the program. Tell people how they can follow you and continue checking out your great work.
At Sharon Reed Live across all platforms. Appreciate you more, Doc. I recorded another Rebel HQ installment today. I hope folks will check it out.
Absolutely. Always fascinating. Thank you for all you do. We got the Bullpen next. Stick and stay.
What contributions to the progressive cause are you most proud of? I mean, I don't have super high aspirations for a singular role that I can play in the movement or anything. I try to present myself as what I think that I am, which is a progressive man who is driven by I think, well-interrogated and well-organized system of values that I try to stay consistent on, and I demonstrate that that's the sort of life that a person can lead and be successful and be happy and all of that. And that should not need to be done, but there are so many people on the right that are trying to push men in the opposite direction that I want to be able to do that. Along the way, if I can get people to care about some topics that they wouldn't necessarily care about, or that for some men they might think that's not a topic that they should be focused on, that's definitely something that I relish doing. And along the way, I mean, we've been able to introduce people to a lot of candidates. That's been a big part of what we've done. Not all of them necessarily got in office. Probably most of them did not. And a lot of them, you might not even remember their names. But it was great to be able to provide people the platform where they had the chance of, making a difference. Obviously, AOC and all that. But there's been a lot of great people along the way.
In the bonus episode for the members, we do some inside baseball. We're gonna look at John's desk. Nice little spaceship here. Nerd. But it is kind of look cool. Who has Legos? Oh no. He's taken apart a keyboard. Who has a mouse pad that's this big? He's got a dog with a nose that you can hang something on. You know what this desk screams to me? Nerd. And that's how we like him. We love Johnny Pie. He's got his own personality like everybody does at TYT. Come meet us all in the bonus episodes. TYT.com/team.
David Stroller, Nina Turner. Adam Green drop by.
Charlamagne.
Congressman, great to have you. It's great to be with you, Chang.
Your show is a great thing. You're informing people. A lot of the shows that I live on, my CNN, my MSNBC, and even Fox, and any of the other shows, NPR, they are so quick to decide that they know what this building means today.
The one thing that I hate that politicians do, they talk a
about the people they should be talking to.
Do they have any idea that they're the establishment and that they're hated? Or do they not realize that at all?
People are so deeply in their little universe. I think it's very easy to not really question what you're doing.
Voters have a right to ask questions of any nominee, whether they're independent, Republican, or Democrat.
The system is duopoly that suppresses competition.
How is it the year 2024 and we're still like, maybe they'll talk about paid medical? Like how is that like at one level it's like, good, what we're talking about it now. You're like, it's 2024.
And that's always been the critique, that your critique of us is, well, you guys give good speeches, you put out good tweets, but you're not wielding actual power. Now we're starting to.
My favorite news platform by far. It's not even close.
It's about a country and a principle, and that's what you and I both worked to achieve. And I'm so glad that at least half the battle has now been won.
If you want to go really hear what's going on honestly, you should tune into the Young Turks.
Thanks for doing such a great job. Please keep it up. Hang tough.
Yeah.
That makes me so happy.
Oh, I like making you happy.
I didn't know about that.
This is a happy Anna Kasparian.
Awesome.
You're welcome, YouTube.
Join the Dragon Squad by becoming a YouTube channel member. Click the join button below or sign up on tyt.com/join to get access to fun emojis, a member-only chat, exclusive shop TYT designs, ad-free watching, and so many other amazing perks. Plus, you get bragging rights for being part of the coolest community on the internet and help us drive real positive change in the world. The Dragon Squad awaits, so join today.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Bullpen. All right, we have a treat. So in the Bullpen, I have a very special guest that connects back to our work in democracy resilience. Before I go to that, I got a video. Here it is.
The latest PBS News NPR Marist poll out today shows that nearly a third of Americans now believe political violence may be necessary to get the country back on track. That's up from 19% just a year and a half ago. It follows a series of high-profile attacks, including the June killing of a Democratic state legislator and her husband in Minnesota, and the assassination of conservative activist Charlie Kirk in Utah last month.
What's driving that here? Mostly Democrats. Only 12% of Democrats back in April 2024 said this. Now it's up to 28%. A huge jump, really. I mean, statistically very significant. But I will say that Republicans are still higher than Democrats. They're at 31%. So they also went up from 28%, about the same, but still a slight increase. Even a quarter of independents are feeling this way now, having gone up 7 points as well.
A few years ago, I was hired to work at the Carter Center as an advisor to this remarkable but unknown and untried program called Democracy Resilience from the Carter Center. It was domestic, it was intentional, and it was about protecting democracy, civility. The person who hired me, who now is still working in the same industry, but now is the principal at CRD Connect, none other than Nathan Stock. Nathan, good day. Welcome to the program. How are you, my friend?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here, brother. Nathan, I remember when we first started to tackle this, and it was already this political dynamic that said, hey, do you really want to get involved in this? But it was becoming evident that if we don't have an intentional focus on protecting civility and democracy, you won't have a democracy to protect civility in. So if you would, talk about the original launch of this, and we're going to get into the sentiment of political violence that's been echoed in various arenas, both on the left and right.
Sure. Well, Rashad, you're digging up memory lane in a fun way. I came to the Carter Center before the 2020 election. And as I recall, you were one of the first people I brought in when we were trying to set up this experimental cross-partisan civic network in Georgia, bringing community leaders, former political leaders together to push back against dehumanizing rhetoric, vitriol, and violence at the community level. And through your hard work and other colleagues in Georgia, we pulled together all kinds of folks to run events, promote facts about elections, also respond when there were crises or other incidents. And, as you know, over time, we expanded that work from Georgia to 5 other states. And now I'm doing something somewhat similar up in Minnesota.
Yeah. Some of the surprises that come out of this for me was how much we really have in common if we don't talk about politics. Politics can become very divisive. And so I remember something that Ambassador Andrew Young said many years ago. He said he was effective as an ambassador because when he would go to a foreign leader's country, he would opt to stay at their house rather than stay at the hotel because he knew they were going to have to eat breakfast together. They were going to have to eat lunch and eat dinner. And he said over those opportunities, those impromptu meetings, he was able to discuss everything but politics, able to discuss food, able to discuss wine, able to discuss just life. And that created relationship, right? So let's talk about the work you're continuing to do now. And have you seen a decrease, dear brother, in some of the rhetoric? Is it hopeful in your estimation moving forward?
There's definitely hope. For starters, we still live in a democracy, more or less. And moreover, we all have agency. What we do, what you do, what I do, every single one of us, that matters. Our country is certainly not doomed to steer into the iceberg, right? We can make change. So that for sure gives me hope. It is also fair to say, by some metrics, political violence is up in the last few years. I think the good news is that actual acts of physical violence, even though they make a lot of news, are still vanishingly rare, right? It's about as common as getting struck by lightning. What is more common and very pernicious are the threats that we've seen targeting local public officials, from local election workers, people on school boards, zoning boards even. That's a big problem, and I think it is having something of a chilling effect. But there's a lot we can do about that.
Well, people that are watching and they want to know, well, what are the real threats? What are some of the elements I need to look out for? How can I be involved in protecting democracy, at least locally, for me and my family?
Yeah. So a few recommendations. One is if you're politically inclined, regardless of what side of the aisle you sit on, get involved in politics, run for something, go volunteer for a campaign, and support candidates and parties that lift up people who call us toward a healthier civic and political discourse. That's one. Second, regardless of which side of the political spectrum you sit on, if you lean left and your world, your media diet, your social media is all on the left, find one relationship that you invest in over time with somebody who looks at the world differently from you. Maybe that's a conservative. Maybe you're a conservative, find a liberal. But plan for repeated engagements. Pick that person and decide that you're going to stay in conversation with that individual until you can tell the other person's story, right? You should get to a point where with your cousin Bob, right? You can say, oh, well, Bob believes X, Y, and Z because he had these experiences as a kid, as he came up professionally in his work, he saw X, Y, and Z. That's what shaped him. That's really useful. We have a lot of Americans, especially those of us who are more politically active on the left or the right, that don't have any of those relationships. And it is therefore easier to kind of dehumanize the other side, to imagine that people who vote differently from you are complete space alien monsters. And the antidote to that is to build those kind of relationships.
You talk about polarization, and for some, it is a term utilized for the sake of landing a political point. All right. So if you go to CNN or MSNBC, you hear a debate, they talk about polarization. What's polarization? What is polarization to you? And what do you believe are the biggest contributors to polarization?
So the term that political scientists use is affective polarization. That's the idea that you identify with one political side and you have an instinctive dislike of the other side, not necessarily connected to their policy positions or your differences on tax policy. You don't like them because of who they are, or at least what you think they are. That's the polarization that has gripped our country for some time. In terms of what's driving it, I mean, there's two baskets of things going on here. One is American life is very different from the way it was 40 years ago. Technology is radically different. Communication technology is different. We're living in information silos. Demographics are different. Country's less white. A lot of research about how that is destabilizing to not only our democracy, but a lot of democracies around the world, right? So there are things that have happened over the last few decades that have created conditions very conducive to polarizing. Second piece of this is our human brains. We are wired to identify in tribal groups. And in this stew of technological change and social change and all that, you add our very partisan brains into that, and you could argue that we're just nervous systems swimming in media ecosystems. And you put the two together, and here we are. We are quite divided. It's easy to see how we got into this mess, given the changes in our society over the last few years and the way our brains work.
Let's back up for a moment. I remember the first time we brought those on the left and those on the right together for an event. And we wanted everyone to sing Kumbaya. We collectively told our groups, this is what it's about. Everybody was, yes, we want to protect democracy. We're not talking about politics. But it didn't quite work out that way. It wasn't bad, but people didn't feel safe. People didn't feel comfortable to really express themselves in that kind of environment that soon, because the polarization was still so thick and all these assumptions and biases were still prevalent. Over time, we broke down those barriers, but it took relationship, brother. It took relationship to break down those barriers. And I think, and I want your opinion on this, I think one of the things that we have lost in politics is the relationship angle. And I'm reminded of the civic awards that we give now from the Carter Center when I heard Governor Roy Barnes give his acceptance speech a few days during that time. And then after that, you hear a Republican talk about how they would hang out, even though they had a very, contentious political back and forth, that they understood that they needed to be respectful of each other at the end of the day. And Barnes said something that just totally, made sense. He says he doesn't know how he would respond in the political atmosphere of today. And what does that say to you, Nathan?
Well, for starters, it's honest on his part.
Yeah.
And it's thoughtful, right? It's an acknowledgement of the reality that a lot of political figures are in today. But he's onto something, right? I mean, there's, I'm sure you've seen these proposals for reforming Congress, or I've seen versions of this at the state legislative level to make the systems work better. And some of the ideas they throw out there are just changing the calendar, the days of the week in which legislation is discussed, so that not everybody can jet home on the weekends to their home districts. So they have to, stay in DC, or in the case of my state, stay in St. Paul. And then their kids end up in the same little leagues, right? And you have that informal socializing time between leaders on different sides of the aisle, which used to be a big part of what made our politics work. So yeah, that humanizing, or the lack thereof, is certainly a piece of this. I mean, I think you could add to that the way fundraising works, especially at the national level, but to some extent at the local level, the way media and elected office intersect, so that you see folks rising through the political ranks or rising through notoriety because you can get to Congress and then become a social media star, become a Fox News star, as opposed to working your way up, getting into a committee, learning all about nuclear nonproliferation and doing the grunt work, right? I mean, there are so many incentives that, unfortunately, I think disincentivize serious, thoughtful, bipartisan cooperation, but there are also ways to change that.
Well, let's talk about that. So your pedigree is strong, brother. You are a non-resident scholar in the Middle East Institute, specializing in Palestinian politics and Gaza Strip. You and I have had dinners where we talked on and on about your efforts in those regions and how difficult it was, how dangerous it was, but also how misinformation and disinformation contributed to the polarization that also contributed to the conflict. What similarities do you see happening with that? Disinformation, misinformation, what's the difference? And what similarities do you see happening in America now?
Yeah, so I had the privilege of working for the late President Carter for many years on his Middle East conflict resolution team. We did a lot of work trying to untie the knot of perpetual armed conflict between Israel and Gaza in years past. Zooming out, when you look at the Israeli-Palestinian conflict as a whole, you see two societies, Israelis and Palestinians, that have been locked in a fairly violent conflict for about 100 years. And you see all the ways in which those societies, their politics, their art, their media, everything within those societies over time has been shaped through the prism of the conflict against the other side, right? A lot of Palestinian national identity, what it means to be a Palestinian, is a story of dispossession, right? It's this shared experience of suffering. And of course, Jewish Israelis have a somewhat similar but converse narrative, right? I see echoes of that growing in the United States, right? I see narratives of persecution, a perception that the other side's against me, that my side, my tribe, my political camp is besieged, is under threat. That, I don't want to overstate this, right? This is not Israel-Palestine. There's no war going on here. But for hard, active partisans in the United States, the sense that your guys are always on the defensive, the other guys are always out to get you, that I do see as a common thread between here and there.
And is it not exploitive, dear brother? Because you see it happening, but usually the individuals who are promoting it are the ones who stand to be empowered by it. And they're manipulating their supporters like pawns in order to keep the narrative going. So in a way, it's exploitive in nature, is it not?
Sure. I mean, that's the tragedy of our time, Rashad. Look, the Reagan Foundation out in California, they put out a poll back in March. I mean, I have the numbers exactly right, but something like 73% of Americans want to be part of a solution to restoring civility. 82% expect their elected leaders to work together across the aisle to solve problems. There's all kinds of data on this. 85% of Americans reject political violence. Americans keep telling pollsters that they want a better politics, right? That they don't want this kind of vitriol. And yet, of course, there are financial incentives, the way the two-party system works, single-member competitive districts, the way social media works. There are all these other incentives that if you are an elected official or even some other kind of elite with a platform that incentivize you to be the worst version of yourself, to incite fear, right? To tell your tribe that the other tribe's coming to get you. So, I mean, the former gives me hope, right? Most Americans don't want this. We want to live in a peaceful society. I want to take my year-old daughter to soccer practice, right? And have a job and have a nice life. Like that, we are all there. The trick then is organizing our voices. To quote Richard Nixon, we're the new silent majority. You, me, the 90% of us that just want to live in a peaceful society. We have to somehow outsmart the algorithms, right? We gotta lift up that voice. And if we're successful in that, then a political approach, a tactic of demonization will backfire, right? Because it's not looking.
I remember that first election after that major disaster. okay? That national thing that none of us thought would ever happen, happened. People stormed the Capitol. And we have an upcoming election. We're hoping democracy will remain intact. And I recall in Georgia, you had the great idea, and it worked actually, of making sure that every candidate signed basically a peace agreement. But the agreement was, here are the things we're going to agree to do. We are going to agree not to support violence against the other. We are going to agree to accept the results of a fair election. We are going to agree. These were things very common in politics traditionally. But this agreement, this set of agreement, we then had to work to get folks to sign it. And I got to tell you, it wasn't, people would assume it was easy to get Democrats to sign it. Hell no, it wasn't easy to get anybody to sign anything, because just like some Republicans, there were Democrats who did not want to automatically accept whatever the election outcome would be in a fair election. And so it took a lot of engagement. But what convinced people are the numbers that you're talking about now, Nathan. The fact that when you poll individual voters, they do not want violence, period.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great example of where we're at, right? And I would just plug up here in Minnesota, we are currently promoting something we call the Civic Pledge for a Stronger Minnesota. Civic Pledge for a Stronger Minnesota. Google it, go sign it. It's 4 points, especially if you live in Minnesota.
Awesome.
Don't be a jerk to each other. Don't incite violence. Don't engage in violence. I've been running events around the state, getting people to sign this thing. But this is an example, Rashad, of where all the rest of us are versus some folks in a kind of narrow political class, right? One of the obstacles we ran into, although we ultimately got, Governor Kemp and Stacey Abrams to sign on to those principles, was that a lot of candidates for office and their campaign staff, their first reaction is, I don't sign pledges, regardless of what the pledge says. All we're asking you to do is just agree that you'll accept the election result. That's it. Nope, I don't do that. So here's an example, right? All the rest of us who just see this as common sense. Like, yeah, if you lose an election, you can't lie about it. Don't be a jackass. Accept that you lost and be gracious, right? That's the kind of thing that we can lift our voices up in support of. If you're in Minnesota, sign our civic pledge, check out the Carter Center's work and others around these issues, right? There are ways for the rest of us to promote these broad values that are really basic. And if we can do that in strong enough numbers, I think we can get the political class to listen.
Absolutely. And evidenced by the fact we have been able to do so in multiple states now. Nathan, give out that information again for Minnesota for people to sign that.
Civic Pledge for a Stronger Minnesota, or What We Can Do Weeks. This set of events we ran after the former House Speaker up here was murdered back in June. Civic Pledge for Stronger Minnesota. Go online, sign it. That'd be a big help.
Thank you, dear brother, for all that you do. We're going to put that website in the post so that we can have that information available for people. Continue fighting the good fight, my friend. It's good to see your face.
You too. Good to see you, man.
All right,
thanks.
Brother. All right. Remember, take care of yourself, take care of each other, take care of the planet. Remember, the truth is always indisputable.